Hello everyone. In this video I will run benchmark tests on Akash Network GPUs using the PyTorch Benchmarks module and Jupyter Notebook. This activity is part of the Akash GPU Testnet. PyTorch Benchmarks is a collection of open-source benchmarks used to evaluate PyTorch performance. Here is PyTorch Benchmarks GitHub repository. These benchmarks are specifically designed to assess the performance and efficiency of PyTorch operations and models when utilizing GPU acceleration. By running benchmarks on various GPUs, users can determine which GPU is best suited for their specific use case and hardware budget. In the Torch Benchmark folder, there is the Models directory that contains copies of popular or exemplary workloads which have been modified to expose a standardized API for benchmark drivers, optionally, enable JIT, contain a miniature version of train/test data and a dependency install script. The repository has explanations about installation and usage, but the guys from Akash have already prepared an SDL with a container that contains a Jupyter Notebook with Torch Bench installed, and it remains only to figure out how to use it. Ready SDL you can find in the awesome Akash GitHub repository. Just find the Torch Bench folder. This is it. As we can see, there are two SDLs here, one for CUDA 11.7 and one for CUDA 12.0. The first one is used for older graphics cards that do not have CUDA 12.0 support. All newer GPUs should use CUDA 12.0 SDL. Let's open it. As you can see, supported video card models for this SDL are already listed here. This means that providers with other GPUs will not be shown in the next step. Also here is the Jupyter token environment variable with the default password that will be used to access the running JupyterLab server. Other resources parameters are usually not needed to change. So, let's deploy this SDL. Click Copy Raw File and open any preferred client. I will use CloudMOS. Don't forget that you need to have a connected Kepler wallet with a minimum of 5 AKT coins for a single deployment plus a small amount for transaction fees. Since this is a testnet, then the coins are also test from the faucet. Also in the Settings tab you need to switch to the GPU Testnet network and create a certificate if it does not already exist. Somewhere there will be a Create Certificate button. I have already created it. Okay, everything is ready, click Deploy button. And select the empty section. Paste the SDL you copied earlier. And click the Create Deployment button. Click Deposit and confirm the transaction. Here we see a list of available providers. Select the appropriate one and click the Accept Bid button. Confirm the transaction. In the Events tab, we see that the container has already been successfully loaded and started. Let's check the logs. All fine, there are no errors and everything successfully loaded. Open the Leases tab and follow the link provided to us. We see that the Jupyter server is running. Enter the password that was specified in the SDL and get to the main dashboard. In the left panel we see the folder with the PyTorch Benchmark module, an example notebook with instructions on how to submit benchmarks, and 3 shell script files. Let's take a look at the notebook file. Here you need to update this form with your information for the testnet. Double-click the cell and edit the corresponding fields. I'll do it later, but for now I'll just write test. And click Run this cell. Okay, next we see NVIDIA SME command. It displays information about the video card, which is needed to make sure that your NVIDIA CUDA version matches or is compatible with the CUDA on the provider node. We click Run and we see that the provider has CUDA version 12.0 and it is fully consistent with the one we launched. Next we see the run sh shell script file call. Let's open this file. Okay, here we see 2 commands, installing models and running tests. Models are installed using the install py script with the models argument, which specifies the list of required models, otherwise all models will be installed, which will be a waste of time and memory. Here are now 4 models for example. There are multiple ways for running the model benchmarks. Here used testbench.py via PyTorch driver. Testbench.py is a PyTorch benchmark script that provides a simple wrapper around the infrastructure for iterating through each model, installing and executing it, and also collects benchmark statistics and supports PyTorch filtering. In -k argument specified the names of the models. CUDA-only parameter is needed to test only on GPUs. Ignore machine config parameter is required to disable checks and assertions for machine configuration for stable tests. Benchmark JSON parameter specifies where to save the results, path and file name. This means that here we need to specify the models that we need. Let's also specify 4 models. I will open the list of all models and just randomly select 4 models. Go to the folder benchmark. Torch benchmark. Models. I'll choose this one, this, this, this. Save the file. And go back to the notebook. Select the cell with Run SH and click Run button. Required packages were successfully checked. We see that the installation of our models is in progress. And so the tests began, we are waiting for completion. Well, testing has been successfully completed and we see a table with the results. Let's run the next cell. Here results loads to the pandas data frame and outputs this data table. Select the cell and click Run. OK. Then the data is parsed and the table is displayed again. Select the cell and click Run. Here, the form of the results is more understandable and convenient. In the next cells, the obtained data is displayed in the form of charts for a more visual comparison of the results across models. The first chart is the operations per second metric for each model. And the second chart with the mean latency metric for each model. Okay, all done. So we got a lot of metrics for selected benchmark models for a GPU of the selected provider. Let's save the results. Click File. Save and export notebook as PDF. Don't forget to close your deployment at the end. Click here 3 dots, close and approve the transaction. Happy benchmarking and thank you for watching.